Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you are doing well. I would love to have your feedback on the image quality as well as the sound quality. So please let me know. I would be very grateful if I get some feedback from you in this regard before we start proceeding. Thank you. It's clear. Thank you very much. Thank you, Natalie. I wanted to stream both on this platform as well as on Facebook, but due to a technical problem, I could not make it on both. So I pasted a link on your academic companion. I hope there will be, more traffic here into this platform. And I would like you to share the link in the groups, in your groups, so that I can have, so that we can have more people with us here in order to spread the information, because so many people ask me questions in private. This is one of the reasons why I tried to hold these live sessions in order to answer questions at once. Thank you very much. I would like to spend the first maybe 3 minutes for reading out the names that have placed a comment in here, and the ones who are not able to write a comment, I would really love to see you subscribed. So if you are not yet subscribed, please do so at your earliest convenience. This is of course not obligatory. Anyway, the aim is to have the information, delivered to you successfully. Natalie, hello. Diya Jubar, hello. Thank you for joining us. Natalie has always been the first to join my live sessions. Thank you so much. Diya, thank you again. Si Nahi Lahsan, hello. Fatin Leili, well, thank you anyway. Thank you for joining. Zubair, thank you, Zubair. Thank you, Mohammed. Nawal, hello. Natalie, Iman, Siham, Zubair, again, thank you so much. Thank you for your feedback. Ahlan Si Mustafa Morshid, again, I would like to see, because we have not met for long, and this is an occasion again to seize the opportunity to congratulate once again Si Mustafa Morshid on having turned into a very successful professor, an already successful professor at the NS of Meknes. And I keep telling my students, I even told 3 ladies this morning that there should be nothing that prevents you from working hard. You may be poor, as we all are, you may be poor, you may be facing up problems, you may find it hard to, to press ahead and work, but make sure that if you are hardworking, there will be, your dream will come true. That's for sure. So it takes only motivation and hard work. Motivation alone, no. Hard work alone, no. Both, yes. So please take this as a piece of advice. So Si Mustafa, congratulations once again. The echoes are already good. I'm very happy for you, my friend. Also, there are friends that I share with Si Mustafa who are about to defend their doctoral theses. I would like to tell them that they should not give up on their aspirations, and that their defense is drawing to a close. This is very nice when you get the fruits of all the effort, all the sufferings, when you achieve one of your dreams. I would like to wish Nathalie Leblanc a successful journey in her doctorate, trajectory. I think it's her first year, and she's already doing great. So I wish you all the best. We have Bilal as well. See Bilal, I don't know whether he is with us here. Anyway, I'm doing this both to congratulate the people who have achieved what they have achieved, and also to hone your motivation so you can do better. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have not subscribed do so that you can type your questions if you have any in the course of this live. Otherwise, you can just watch. That's the thing. But what I would like you to do more is to hit the like button, because we have 22 people here, but we have only 10 likes. That does not really encourage the algorithm to spread the video to more people. So please do this if you think it's worth doing. So 21 likes against 21 members who have joined against 11 likes. That's not really something that is desirable. Very interesting. I would like to go very I will go headlong into the topic. Our topic today is syntax, of course. And despite the fact that we'll not be talking about very technical stuff when it comes to the different lessons that are subsumed under the heading of syntax, but what we are going to do today is the basis of so much to come in syntax. Or the basis of so many lessons. Syntax is like mathematics. It's like, so if you get absent for one session, you are not likely to understand in any clear way the coming sessions. For example, if you don't understand what we are going to do here today, how are you going to understand the movements and argue for them? You see? So please understand that there is no session that, if you happen to skip a session for one reason or another, then, of course, you need to double the effort, to talk to your friends, to read the notes, and then we will see. Okay, very interesting. Thank you. So what we are going to do today is talk about the notion of constituency in syntax, and what it is first, and what arguments there are that constituency is something we need to care about, is something we need to pay attention to, is something we need to dwell on. The fact of the matter is that syntacticians for centuries, and generative syntacticians, since the towards the end of the 50s, have had this interest in the notion of constituency. The big question is, how is it that, how is it that some words in given sentences have this tendency of going together? How is it that sometimes we have groups of words that have the same behavior? How is it that in language we don't have just words, but we also have groups of words? There are situations where a word alone cannot act, cannot function, cannot show any function, cannot show any behavior. The behavior is rather, combined. Is the behavior is displayed by a whole group of words, and this is what we refer to as constituency. That is to say that language is in fact a series of sentences, and sentences are, rather than saying that they are groups of words, they are groups of constituents as well. Words are building blocks, of course, of phrases, and phrases are building blocks of sentences. Okay, so that's the notion. And every level is a constituent. Word level categories are constituents. Phrase level categories are also constituents. Thank you. I remember Si Mustafa. My eyes have fallen on this comment by Si Mustafa Horaifish. I remember you. You were in evening classes. I still remember that. Ayuma, Maryam, your student in S6 class. Marhaba, Maryam. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. I apologize if I've not been able to read your comments. The people who have not, hit the like button, please do so. Anyway, we will come back. Let's come back. As I said, this is the constituency. The idea behind this is that words, yes, are building blocks of formatives that we may refer to as sentences. As constituents. And a constituent can be a phrase, and phrases, of course, are as constituents. They are building blocks of sentences. Today we are going to talk about. We will bring up arguments in favor of the existence of word-level categories and phrase-level categories. What do we mean? In very simple terms, why is it that we have noun, verb, adjective, preposition in language? There are some arguments that we are going to explain today. People decided to call or to name, for example, a cup as a noun, not as a verb. And because all the classes, all the words that can go together or that can be interchangeable with cup, they have the same function in the sentence. For example, the cup is nice. It is a subject here. I can change the cup by the pen. The pen is nice. Sorry, I have to branch. I have to branch the computer. Okay. Very nice. So, as I told you, words, there are arguments for the existence of word-level categories. There are pieces of evidence to testify that linguists were right in saying that cup and pen are or belong to the same category, and all the words that can substitute or that can replace other similar words, they belong to one category. That's why we have a noun, for example. This pen is nice. Okay. This book is nice. All right. And this one too. I don't think I have one in English here. I have another one by Hassan Awrid, by the way. Anyway, this book is nice. This computer is nice, etc. In the same vein, we have one block reserved for words that look like beautiful. Okay, for example, this lady is beautiful. This room is beautiful. This paragraph is beautiful, but I can change beautiful. So because as you can see here, beautiful and other similar words occupy well-known positions. For example, you can say, this girl is beautiful. This girl is intelligent. This girl is ambitious. This girl is smart. As you can see, ambitious, beautiful, intelligent, smart. These, maybe, as you may have seen in these examples, they have taken the same places in the sentence. That's why they belong to one category. So this is where the idea of categories come from. And the fact of naming, cup as a noun and beautiful as an adjective, here we are talking about meta language, the use of meta language. Linguists have recourse, linguists make, recourse or have recourse to meta language in order for a better understanding of how human language works. And now let's go to the details. The first argument let me start. So what we are going to do here is list the pieces of evidence in favor of the existence of word-level categories, and again, list pieces of evidence in favor of the existence of phrase-level categories. A question might arise as to why is it that we are doing this in syntax? My friends, this will have at least two the importance is two-pronged, is twofold. It has a twofold importance. Number one, thanks to these arguments, this is a good training. This is good training for us to handle later on syntactic phenomena like movements. So we'll bring up evidence from here, from the ones that we are going to list today. Okay. So this is number one. Number two, there is a practical, reason why you should know this the day of the exam, whether you are in my class here in Rabat or whether you study syntax at another university. Final exams, as you can see, are combinations of general questions, usually a paragraph question, and tree diagrams and other, exercises. So you will for sure be given, general questions, and there are very high chances that at least one of the questions will be on this. So you need to produce a paragraph in this regard. And if you stay with me here, we will be talking about some of the best practices for writing a successful paragraph in order to garner some points on the day of the exam. So let's start with word level categories. Is there any evidence for the existence of word level categories? Word level categories or just cat. That's why in our class there is always a cat that visits us because it's a category, it's a syntax class. Anyway, so word level categories, all right, can be argued for. The simple question is, what is the evidence that we have something like noun, verb, etc.? Let's list some of them. So the first argument that we can mention, and something we covered in class, and most of the classes, most of the professors would go for this as well. So the first argument is a phonological argument. We have phonological evidence or phonological argument, phonological piece of evidence that in language we have words that belong to categories. Let me give you an example of this phonological argument. Okay, do you know that, for example, the difference between this word here can have two pronunciations? You know it if you haven't known it yet, if you have not been aware of it yet. So this is an opportunity for you to know. This one here has two pronunciations. This can be pronounced as record, and record. Look at this. In some contexts, if you pronounce this as record, it will be a mistake. In some of the contexts, if you pronounce this as a record, it will be a mistake. Okay? Well, the rule says if a word like this one here is a verb, then of course we know that any word that has two syllables that looks like that is after the subject, that comes after the subject, it means it's a verb. We call it a verb. Okay? Record, pertain, these are ideas, contain, etc. Import, increase, etc. All these, as long as they are verbs. So here, record, if it's a verb, you stress the second part. Record, it's a verb. For example, I will record you. It's not I will record you. And you have present by the thank you, the yes, and you have other words, of course. So record. But here, if it's a noun, it's just record, you stress this. So here, because it's a verb, we say record. Here, because it's a noun, we stress the first part. Alash. So why? What does this show? Why am I telling you this? In what way is this a piece of evidence in favor of word level categories? Answer. The fact that we have the same word that has two pronunciations depending on where it occurs is evidence enough that this word here, sometimes it belongs to category 1, sometimes it belongs to category 2. So this is what we call phonological argument, un argument phonologique. C'est-à-dire the stress pattern determines whether we should have a noun or we should have a verb. The place of stress in a two-syllable word tells us if this word looks like write, I write an email, or it looks like the table. For example, the record, he broke the record, he broke the table. I hope you understand me here. Type 1 if you understand this argument, please. Type 1 before I proceed. Yeah, very interesting. Thank you. Thank you. So this is what we refer to as a phonological argument. Now, apart from the phonological argument, there is what we call the morphological argument. The morphological argument. Morphological. So word level categories. Here we can write argument or evidence. You feel free. Thank you. So what is the morphological argument? Of course, we cannot have something like intelligent. Just imagine you have an adjective intelligent. Okay. Intelligent, of course, cannot take, for example, ing. What is it that takes an ing? It's the verb. What is it that takes an ed? It's the verb. You see, you say want, wanted, work, worked, etc. But intelligent, can it take intelligented? No. It's just because intelligent belongs to a category that does not admit an ed. Why? It's because it's an adjective. Adjectives do not have the ed. The ed is a specificity of the verb. And therefore, we say that this is a strong morphological argument that we have a difference between an adjective, a noun, a verb, etc. In the same vein, the so-called genitive apostrophe s, you can say the student's book, the student, and then you have apostrophe, and then s, and then you have book. This is what we call a genitive. Can I say the intelligent and then s something? No, because apostrophe s, which is the genitive, is a property of the noun. It's not a property of the adjective. Similarly, adverbs like slowly cannot take, for example, the ing. He is slowly in. But we don't have that, you see. You see, the adverb takes li as a suffix, but it cannot. Anyway, the point I am making here is that the morphological argument resides in the fact that different word types take different inflections. And this is a proof that this is not like this, that we have categories, that words fall into categories. I hope you got my point. Very interesting. Now we move on to, and of course, there are other arguments here and here that you can adduce, but I'm just trying to shed light on the main points, the ones that are enough for you to answer your exam questions and to follow the rest of syntax courses, classes, or sessions in the remainder of this semester. Good. Now, we do have another type of evidence, okay, which is referred to as semantic evidence. Semantic referring to the study of meaning, okay? So meaning sometimes can help us isolate or argue for the fact that different words belong to different categories. Here you have the famous, okay. Okay, so let me write semantic here. Semantic or the semantic argument. Okay. You have the famous one that it's famous, it's circulating. I mean, it's a very famous, it's a classical example for a semantic argument. If you read this, ladies and gentlemen, look at this. Mistrust, and then you have wounds. You know what wounds are? Wounds can be physical, but they can also be emotional. Mistrust is the verb, okay? Well, I will not say anything about it anyway, because it all depends here. This sentence, mistrust wounds, has two readings. In order to successfully distinguish between the first reading means meaning. In order to distinguish the first meaning from the second meaning, we do need to talk about categories. Okay, hello and welcome. Anyway, so here, mistrust wounds can have two meanings. Let's talk about these two meanings. The first meaning is a declarative sentence. It's like I am giving you a wisdom, a piece of information so that you will not make a mistake. Do you understand? For example, mistrust wins. Mistrust wins. I can inform you, hello, my friend, you know what happened to me. You see, I did not trust so and so, and then I was wounded, or I wounded I wounded the person, I wounded the person, or whatever. So mistrust resulted in wounds. So here, mistrust, that's the subject. What does it do? It wounds. Fine. And this S here is for third person singular because we have mistrust. But we do have a second reading for this sentence. Okay. Just imagine I am ordering you. I order you because I need an exclamation mark, for example. Here I'm ordering you. I'm giving you, it's an imperative sentence. Hey, you should do one thing. What should I do? You should mistrust wounds, or simply, hey, mistrust wounds. Mistrust wounds. Yani, do not trust wounds. You understand me? So here we have had two readings, as you can see. And the only way we can successfully isolate the first meaning from the second meaning is to believe in the notion of categories. Without this, without knowing what a noun is and what a verb is, and we don't know that, without knowing that certain words have to belong to the noun category and certain words have to belong to the verb category, we will fail miserably in interpreting the ambiguity or in disambiguating, okay, this sentence that we have here. So this one here can be referred to as a semantic argument in favor of the existence of word level categories. Is the list exhaustive? No, it's not exhaustive. Should you include all these things in answer to the exam question? Not necessarily. And this is something that this is the reason why I know this is a message to our dear students here. I had to open a bracket. Ladies and gentlemen, when the professor asks you to produce a paragraph in answer to the following question, let's say, what evidence is there for the existence of word level categories? By the way, this is a question I asked in one of my previous exams over the last years. Yeah, that's true. That's true, Mr. Forever. Si Said, marhaba bik khoya, marhaba. Thank you very much for joining. And I apologize to the friends who have placed comments in here that I did not read. I sincerely apologize. Anyway, yeah, we are in that tip for the final exam. When the professor asks you this question, write a paragraph in which you say something, you answer a given question. Just imagine you have this. Sometimes you may have 5 or 6. Let's say if the professor asks you about constituents, word level categories and phrase level categories. How many do you have? You have a lot, as we will see. We have a lot of arguments. We will end up having some 9 or 10. And the professor is asking you to write a paragraph. My question is, which is better? Is it to reproduce all the 10 arguments in one paragraph to show that you have done your job and that you have prepared and that you understand how things happen? Or is it better to select 3 or 4 arguments and develop them in a neat paragraph? Okay, of course, there are advantages here and here, but mind you, ladies and gentlemen, that the professor, in asking you to produce an answer in the form of a paragraph, he or she is also looking for how you write, whether you are able to compose a paragraph or not, whether you know what a paragraph is or not. A paragraph, my dear friends, cannot handle 10 arguments. No paragraph can do that, written no. So you have to be selective. Very good. Yes, the second option is better. Hello, IKM9170. God knows who you are, but hello. Thank you very much. Select the most obvious and present them. That's true. That's true. Yeah, thank you. Yes. So please be selective. If it's an essay, you can think of another plan. But usually in general questions, that's a paragraph. I'm talking about at least myself and probably my colleagues. Very good. You see, I'll come to that. See, yes, yes, here. Yes, here. Ask me this question at the end, please, because so that I will not break the flow of these explanations. So this is a tip that I am giving you, my dear friends. A good paragraph is not judged on the basis of the content of how much you write. It's not on how many pieces of information. أهلا أستاذ سمية أهلا وسهلا مرحبا. So it's not on how many elements you list. It's not judged on how many arguments you provide. No, it's judged on that. That's for sure, but not the quantity. It's also the quality of the paragraph. So that's an interplay between between quality and quantity. You have to balance up the thing. Don't miss out, especially at the level of S6. Okay, mistakes are hardly tolerated. And by the way, this is an invitation to our friends here who feel that their English needs some honing. They are kindly invited to make some effort to improve their writing skills. And again, I repeat what I have been saying for long. You may find me repetitive in saying this, but please let your preparation for the exam be by writing. Prepare the exam not by discussing, by reciting. No, by writing. That's a very good way of preparing. I close the bracket. Okay. Okay. Now, having talked about word level categories as an example of constituents, now we will move on to the discussion of phrase level categories. And this is very important, if not more important. Okay. If you have questions about this right here, I would love to see, to see questions in this regard, of course, which I will answer very briefly because there are things that we need to cover. So that we will keep this live shorter than the previous lives, because I don't want to, as I always tell my students, I don't want to stand here. Okay, so that people will find it, of benefit and less monotonous. Sehmed, thank you. You are welcome. Mistrust ones can also have another meaning. Yes, we talked about that. It has mistrust ones as an imperative or as an information. You know that mistrust ones, or I order that you mistrust words. Very interesting. Now we move on to the notion of phrase level categories. Phrase level categories. What is a phrase after all? What is a phrase? A phrase is a group of words that phonological arguments say that pronunciation dictates the type of the word. Yes. It's mutual, my dear friend Si Absalam. The phonological argument, and therefore all these other arguments that we have listed, they are mutually supportive. So we use phonology and information from phonology to prove that words belong to different categories. It means that if we don't recognize, if we give up on these categories, if we just call them words, we will not be successful in detecting the differences between record and record. So we have to invoke the notion of a noun and a verb as examples of word level categories. You see? But we can also use them to argue for the stress pattern. So it's either way. Si Abd or Si Abd Salam. She left my soul with profound mistrust wounds. Yes, you can have that as well. Yes. Mistrust wounds means these are wounds of mistrust, and that's a third meaning. So you are doing, a great job in stating that there. That's a third meaning. Thank you. So let me read that. Si midu 1 el moro. She left my soul with profound mistrust wounds, with profound wounds that are related to mistrust. Thank you. That's a third, way of reading out the sentence. Thank you very much. Yes, Si Hamza, and yeah, a phrase is a group of words. That's true. That's one thing. But it can be one word, but theoretically, it's a group of words. It's a group of words where you have a central element. And this central element is the head. For example, you have the brilliant student, the brilliant student. All of this is a phrase with the central element, which is student, because the key element in the brilliant student is student, which is the head. And then brilliant is something about the student. The is the determiner. You see, not two students, one student, the student, okay? Very nice. So, but a phrase, as you can see, and we will see that here in these arguments, a phrase is very elastic. It can have a group of words, but it can also sometimes exist is in one word. In syntax, we have this magical argument called substitution, which we are going to see in a moment. Let me start with this. For instance, you have let me reproduce parts of this of a phrase that we saw today in the class. We covered it with a lot of difficulty, I guess, but my students ended up understanding those things. Okay, so we said probably the tall, intelligent, وقيل, student in the amphitheater or whatever, or professor of natural history in the theater. Anyway, in the room, let's say in the room. The tall, intelligent student in the room. Look at how many words we have here. The tall, intelligent student in the room. We have 7 words, and it can potentially be longer, and it can shrink, by the way. All right? Thank you, Mohammed. I think you are alluding to me. Yeah. Anyway, so this is a group of words. Can we call this group of words a phrase? Of course, we can call it a phrase. But look at this, my dear friends. If I have this, wait a minute. Just imagine I have this. I saw the tall, intelligent. This sentence here. Can I ask you a question? Can we say that I saw is one group? Naturally, do they belong to one group? I saw, and then you have the tall, etc. It's not natural. It's not a good combination. Or you say, I saw the tall man, for example. Can I say that this is a group, a natural group? So do they go together? They cannot go together. So of course. And even so the tall, no, it cannot go together. You see? What can go together is, I saw the tall, intelligent student in the room. This goes together. Why? It's because it's a sentence. That's for sure. This sentence is or consists of a number of categories. So So the whole sentence is a constituent. I alone. It's the noun phrase. Of course, we can say I, and then you say so, blah 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 blah, and then you can have from so until here the whole verb phrase, because the verb phrase starts from here. So the tall, intelligent student in the room. That's what? That's a constituent. What the point I am making here is that when you have a group of words, we cannot haphazardly, randomly choose the first 2 or the first 3 or the middle 2 or the middle 3 and call them a natural group. No, because there is no evidence. Okay? No, you can't find syntactic evidence for that. So they are not constituents and they are not phrases, because phrases is an example of a constituent. Now, the predicate, yes, we call that predicate. Predicate. Very nice. And now let's focus. Let's delete this. Let's imagine we have this, the tall, intelligent student in the room. Everybody here is likely to tell me that this is an NP, yes or no? That this is a noun phrase. You cannot see NP there. NP. This is a noun phrase, yes or no? Now, What is it if we can replace the whole thing with an NP? Yes, yes, that's true. That's true. H1. Thank you. That's very good. So this one here is an NP. Now, how can we argue that this is a noun phrase? How can we argue that we have a phrase level category here? How can we argue that we have a constituent here? Okay, there are certain, you see, there are certain, tests. Okay, there is a family of tests we refer to as substitution. 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 For phrase level, we are now in phrase level categories. This is called substitution. Substitution means you take the whole thing. Thank you, Si Khalid. Thank you. Yes. You take the whole thing and you replace it by one element or by two. Anyway, we replace it by something else. So here, the tall, intelligent student in the room. For example, if I saw the tall, intelligent student in the room, I can replace this by a pronoun, yes or no? I can replace this by him, if all this is a direct object. I invited the tall, intelligent student, etc. I graded the tall, intelligent student, etc. You may have other, you may have similar noun phrases like these, and you can make them function as a direct object or as a subject. For example, the tall, intelligent student in the room is, okay, or won a prize. Okay, the tall, intelligent student in the room won a prize. You can replace this by he. If it's a subject, this is he. If it's an object, it's him. My friends, if we just imagine we replace this by him. I saw the tall, intelligent student in the classroom, right? Can I say, can him, هذا هو le point. الناس اللي باغيين يعرفوا هذا l'argument عفاكم. The point is that him here, the pronoun here, does not replace part of a phrase. It either replaces the whole phrase or does not do this job. It goes home. I cannot say, for example, I saw him, student in the room. Can you say that? No, you cannot. You see, I saw him. Can I say I saw him, intelligent student in the room? No. I saw him the room? No. I saw him in the room, and in the room here, it will be an adjunct for the verb to see. So that's again ambiguity. But certainly, him does not replace elements at random, does not replace elements haphazardly. Him, and for that matter, any other pronoun, which you refer to as form, Nathalie Leblanc, this is one way, this is a strategy by languages to replace phrases. So either a full phrase is replaced or, no replacing is taking place. Okay, very good. Why am I saying this? I am saying this to let you know that substitution, especially with pronominalization, is a good argument for the existence of phrases in languages. One way of knowing that languages have a noun phrase or noun phrases is to, pronominalize that group we refer to as a noun phrase. Sitofik, hello. You got the point or no? And I have a tip for you, Nas Dial Syntax, our friends who have an exam later on. In syntax, but also in phonology and morphology, in linguistics in general, when you write a paragraph, اسمعوا لي هذه نصيحة من ذهب. If you would like to be more convincing to your professor, okay, بحال دابا أنا, one way of saying this is to say, well, substitution is one of the arguments, etc. But you will be more convincing if you provide an ungrammatical form and say, the reason why this is ungrammatical is that the pronoun here does not replace the whole sentence. For example, you can say, for example, we cannot say, I saw the tall, intelligent, and stop. We cannot say, I saw the tall, intelligent student in and stop. You understand me? So you can, اسمحوا لي, I should replace by him. I saw him intelligent student. لان هيم ما كتعبرش غير على طول وصافي، ما كتعوض لياش طول وصافي. I cannot say I saw him student in the room. لا، هذه يا اما تعوض لها فراس كلها يا اما تمشي بحالها. Whether it's a direct object or whether it's a subject. Is that fine? Nice. So please understand that you need to provide as a strategy for a good answer. When you in the course of developing your argument, try to provide ungrammatical sentences or ungrammatical form and put this asterisk next to them to show that they are not okay, they are not wrong, they are not correct, something like this. Or no, it's better use that here to say that this is an ill-formed sentence. Okay, and then you explain why it is an ill-formed. This is a very interesting way of getting some extra points of making a good impression to your supervisor, and also to your supervisor if you have an ESP. احنا في الكلية ديالنا عندنا ESP, which is a good thing. I'm very happy that my students have already started asking questions that great syntacticians ask. They are in very good hands with their very brilliant supervisor. That's really interesting. Okay, Ahlan, Nuhaila is with us here, so you are welcome, Nuhaila. Thank you. All right, Muhsin, marhaba si Muhsin. During drawing a tree, should we always make the head governs the complement? I will come to that, Yasin. Mr. Yasin, would you kindly ask this question either at the end, or if you are with this number, if you will come with this number, you have 40 people. For me, it's like a class. I will have more, live sessions on syntax. Don't worry. I will answer all your questions. I will break this. It's one of the mistakes that I made last year in my lives. I found out that I was digressing a lot. Students may not like this. So what I can see is here, make sure that your question will be answered. Okay, so also in substitution, we can move on to okay. If I have a question like so that it can be visible, very interesting. Listen to this. Okay. Has your friend sent the email yet? Has your friend sent the email yet? Answer, no. He will send the email tomorrow. He will send the email tomorrow. So he will, and then you have send the email tomorrow. Let me write it tomorrow like this. I wrote tomorrow like tomorrow. So he will send the email tomorrow. We do not speak like this because we are not machines. And now even machines cannot speak like this, by the way. So it will be very robotic if we say, has your friend sent the email yet? No, he hasn't. He will send the email tomorrow. So we can replace send the email as a verb phrase. Okay, send the email is a verb phrase, yes or no? So we say, he will do so. He will do so tomorrow. Do so is one, it's like a pronoun. Do so is like a pronoun, but for the verb phrase. Okay? Have you sent the email? No, I haven't done so. Do so, done so. Okay? Did you write the report? I did so yesterday. I did so means write the report. So do so replaces the whole phrase. Can I say, if the question is, have you sent the email yet? You cannot say, I will do so the email tomorrow. علاش؟ لأن do so does not replace the category, the word level category, the verb. It replaces the phrase. Okay, so the do so test, as Mido says, that's very good, is a good argument in favor of the existence of something, of groups of words, that we refer to as phrases. Here, it's the case of the verb phrase. Donc, هادشي كنسميوه substitution. For the noun phrase, we have pronominalization. For the verb phrase, we have do so. And we can also think of substitution among prepositional phrases. Okay? هذه غنقولها لكم oral because it's easy to understand this. When will you arrive in Rabat? By the way, in English, ما كنقولوش arrive to Rabat. C'est arriver à Rabat, ça c'est un transfert. Transfer means transfer from French. We say arrive in. Okay, so if we are on the phone, I say, well, when will you arrive in Rabat? When will you be in Rabat? It's more evident. When will you be in Rabat? In Rabat is a prepositional phrase, yes or no. How can we know that this is a phrase? There is an argument. It's replacing the prepositional phrase by the adverb there. Okay, I will be in Rabat tomorrow. I will be there tomorrow. So this is a good example of substitution. There does not mean just Rabat, does not mean in. It means in Rabat. It refers to in Rabat. You cannot say, I will be there Rabat tomorrow. You cannot say, I will be in there tomorrow, probably in some, informal, probably ways of saying, but it's not usual. I'll be there, even in spoken English, I'll be there tomorrow. Not I will be in there tomorrow. Is that fine, ladies and gentlemen? So this can be a good replacement of prepositional phrases. Now, let me summarize so far. This first family of arguments, l'ismina, donc number one, substitution. We gave it number one, and we call this substitution. Under substitution, we have pronominalization for noun phrases, do so for verb phrases, and there for prepositional phrases, which express an adverb of place. Thank you. So we move on to other interesting arguments in favor of the existence of phrase level categories. And now we will be, we'll be talking about movements. But anyway, let's call them movements. Movements. Why movements? Because we need to move an element from one place to another place in order to see that what is at stake in these movements are phrases, not words. All right. We have this famous circulating example, or examples that circulate in textbooks. Okay, the movement test, of course. And in movement, we have categories. Sometimes you have she will, your sister, or by the way, she will. Let's say she, just to make it lighter. She will wash the dishes. Ikram, yes, if that's Ikram, because I say IKM, I guess it's Ikram, the name of the girl. I think it's a girl's name. It's just a mere guess. Prove this or disprove. But anyway, to answer your question, that's true. That's true. That's it. It's part of interlanguage, of course. It's one of the 5 processes. So I close. She will wash the dishes. She will wash the dishes. Now, if I am speaking in a serious tone that bears the flavor of an order, if I express anger, an order, a command, I'm authoritative, you see, I will say, she washed the dishes. Wash the dishes, she will. Wash the dishes, she will. So what do we have here? So we have she will wash the dishes. Wash, she will, and then you have wash the dishes. Wash the dishes. We have a verb and the complement of the verb. This is an auxiliary. So here we have a VP. Yes or no? In some styles, okay, for stylistic reasons, when we want to express a certain tone, what we do is displace, or move certain groups of words to another place. So we have she will do the dishes. That's correct. But if you are serious and if you are angry, whatever, you say wash the dishes. Anyway, you bring this here and you will have wash the dishes. She will. You see? يعني you will wash the dishes anyway. بغيتي ولا كرهتي. Willy nilly. Okay, as they say. Nice. So here, this is called preposing. Preposing. Let me write it here. Preposing. We are preposing. We are preposing means that you have pre means before. Pre means before. The opposite is post, as we will see here. So what we propose, that's the link between phrase level category and this argument. The argument is that when we propose, either we prepose the whole sentence, or we don't prepose at all. For example, you cannot say she will wash the dishes. You cannot say wash, she will the dishes. Wash, she will the dishes. It's ungrammatical. Why? It's because we have preposed just the verb wash, she will, وخلينا هذه. Donc what has to be preposed is the whole phrase. And this is an argument that this group, that we have a phrase here. So this is an argument for a phrase level of category, which is the case here of a verb phrase. Okay, so the verb phrase here, it's why? It's because when there is movement, كل شيء كيمشي. All the whole phrase goes. It's not just one thing. They are like a unit. Thank you for that. Yes, that's true. We also refer to it as front end. Sinafir, we have a syntactician with us here. Sinafir Bouhdou is a syntactician. Displacement is a crucial property of human language. Absolutely, Mr. Nafir. Thank you so much. All right. So since we have preposing, we have its opposite, as Nuhaila, I guess, or someone, a friend here talks about postposing. Sorry, we have so preposing. Okay, nice. So when you have, when you have an element moving from here to here, it's called preposing. When you have the opposite, the element goes here and here, we have postposing. Postposing. This is usually noticed in sentences where you have a direct object and an indirect object. Okay. Let me explain this. So for preposing, it's fine. Okay. I gave the book to Mary yesterday. Let's call it this yesterday. Assume that there is the rest here. Will this live? I hope so. I'll do my best to modify certain things and to trim it so that it will be accessible. And then, of course, it will be uploaded again. I will see what to do in that regard. So, but I will make sure I'll have to leave it here. So I gave the book to Mary yesterday. So I have okay. So the book here. No. Let me change this a little bit so that I don't want to have a confusing example here. I gave the book to my friend yesterday. I gave the book to my friend yesterday. So sometimes you would like to probably defer, okay, to my friend. You can take this prepositional phrase and put it after yesterday, so that we end up, I gave the book yesterday to my friend, which is also grammatical. And this illustrates, okay, a postposing argument, the postposing argument. Here we have the prepositional phrase. You cannot postpose just the noun phrase here. You cannot say, I gave the book to yesterday, my friend. So to my friend, okay, the whole to my friend has to move, which means that what we have here is a phrase and not just a random set of words. I hope you understand this, ladies and gentlemen. You know that there is also something called, you see, so are you fine with this argument of preposing and postposing? I think it's been clear. I tried to mention these things in passing. I'm sure you did that in your class rooms. We have two examples here, pre and postposing. There, don't we? In the example that I have mentioned, it's just one, because you just remove one, for example, to my friend, and you put it, after yesterday. One way of, because when you prepose, you bring the whole thing to the front, to the beginning of the sentence. So that's the idea. So we have the notion of edges in preposing and postposing. Usually, where the group lens is the edge. It can be the beginning, it can be the end. So that's why we refer here more to postposing than anything else. Okay, now we move to we have the notion of cleft sentences. So we have clefting as an argument and pseudo-clefting. So let's talk about clefting. Can we do the same with book in? I can't. So I can't follow. See, Nafir, would you like to write the full sentence, please? Okay. Since we have this example that shows up so often, we will reproduce it here. The student of physics, the traveled or whatever, made it. The student of physics, give me a verb here, a very quick verb. Slept. Let's say slept. The student of physics slept. Fine. The student of physics slept. Clefting is a structure of the type that starts with, it's like putting emphasis, it's not the student of history, it's the student of physics. So we say it was the student of it. So you have it was, and then you have that, or it is, blah, 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 that. So you have this structure. It is or was, blah, 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 that, plus verb. هذه هي cleft sentence. The cleft sentence. We use cleft sentences to highlight some elements for discourse and discoursal and stylistic reasons. Okay, so here the cleft sentence for this is it was. So here I have, because we have slept, so it was the student of physics who slept in that room. It was not the student of history. It was the student of physics. Okay, so here the cleft sentence here. So it was. So I write it was. Okay, and then here in this row, in this space, so I have to have the whole noun phrase that should come here in the cleft sentence. If I have just the student, it will not be a well-formed sentence, because the clefting requires what the key element here after was the first element to be a full noun phrase. So it was the student that slept of physics will not hold. So we have to bring the whole thing here, the whole phrase. As you can see, clefting is a good argument in favor of the existence of word level categories. I'm sorry, of phrase level categories. So we have a phrase here. Is that fine, ladies and gentlemen? If it's understood, type 1, please. Yes, Natalie, it is the dishes that she will wash. That's a good example of a cleft sentence or clefting. Thank you. Okay, at least, thank you. 2 1s means that it's understood. So now we move on to something else. We will refer to it as pseudo-clefting. Pseudo-clefting. By the way, this is not pseudo. In French, c'est le pseudo, un pseudonyme, par exemple. But in English, se is pronounced as pseudo, okay? So let's talk about pseudo-clefting with a little hyphen here. Pseudo-clefting. Pseudo-clefting is clefting only to identify NPs. No, not necessarily, but it's just the most frequent domain for the operation of clefting. People would give examples from this, but you can still see it was traveling to New York that made him. No, it was on the table. It was on the table. Okay. That I saw him standing, for example. So you can manipulate that, but the most and easiest and most straightforward example would best be with NPs. For clefting and for pseudo-clefting, so for clefting is it was blah 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 that. For pseudo-clefting, it starts with what blah 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 was. نجاوبك انا نجيني واحد example. It was with a lot of sadness that I received the sad news. It was هنا عندي with هنا عندي prepositional phrase. So clefting can successfully operate with prepositional phrase here, as an example that I have had off the top of my head. So for pseudo-clefting, usually it's what, and then you have something here. What blah 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 is something. When a verb, ماشي غير is verb, So you have what my friend did was or is wash the dishes. So whatever. So anyway, so here in these dots, what you have is a full phrase. What my best friend tried to do is, and then you finish. So this is the pseudo-clefting. But pseudo-clefting can also argue for the existence of a verb phrase. Don't forget that. For example, what your sister will do is, after you have to have a verb phrase, wash the dishes. So we have to have a full noun phrase here. We have to have a full verb phrase here in this type of example. Anyway, the spaces in what, yes, look at this by Hussam. What sickens me the most is his recklessness. So what sickens me the most, yes, is here in this example of Husam. After is, what we have is a whole phrase. So this is very important in pseudo-clefting. This part here should be a phrase. Okay. And now what sickens me the most, here you have a verb phrase. Sickens me the most. You understand? So it's either you have a phrase or you don't have anything. What I need is a vacation. So you have what I, and so I need, here you have a subject verb anyway, is, and then you have a full phrase. You cannot say what I need is vacation, because vacation here is not a full phrase. It's just a noun in this. It's like a clausal subject. Absolutely, absolutely. Yes. So anyway, understand that for pseudo-clefting, you have this structure. What blah, 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 blah is. What angers me was his response to my request. What angered me was his response. Is it necessary to start with yes, yeah, that's how we know pseudo-clefting. It's you start with what blah 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 was الى اخره. هذا هو pseudo-clefting. الclefting هو it blah 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 was. It is his car that etc. What they are doing is studying for the exam. Thank you, Natalie. Very interesting. Thank you. Okay. And of course, we move on to another argument. We are left with two, and we will have exhausted the list. دابا هادو اختاروا منهم جوج ثلاثة. بون اللهم إلا كان السؤال موجه لارجيوم واحد, for example, discuss pseudo-clefting. In that case, yes. Why do we need pseudo-clefting? It's not we need it, but we use it. Pseudo-clefting can be used as an argument to prove that we have phrases in language. Okay, we have phrases. When you say, for example, what made me angry was, then after was you have to have a full phrase. You cannot have just part of the phrase. What angers me was his indifference or her indifference. What made me happy was her success in the exam. هنا عندي noun phrase. But you can also have a verb phrase. اللي هو important في هادشي ديال pseudo-clefting is that sometimes you can have even a verb phrase. For example, what I wanted to do was write my first chapter. What I wanted to do was compose a poem. هنا عندي verb phrase. Can I say what I wanted to do was a poem? لا. Donc هنا حيت عندي to do something. What I wanted to do, it replaces an action. So what I wanted to do was write a letter. What angered me, what made me happy was, what made me tired was so much reading. إلى آخره. So I hope you got it now. All right. Thank you. Okay. We have another argument which we refer to as a standalone test. Standalone means that sometimes you have a question and the answer is usually brief. If I ask you the question, who did you meet yesterday? Who did you meet yesterday? If you answer my brother. Who did you meet yesterday? Answer my brother. It means yesterday I met my brother. So here in this argument says that when you give these short answers, you give them in the form of phrases, not in the form of words. Who did you meet yesterday? Answer brother. It needs a determiner. Is it someone's brother or your brother? إلى آخره. Okay, very, very good. Yes, it is full. Midu, it is a phrase, Garak. It is a phrase. Midu, would you kindly type the phrase باش نشرح لك. يلا type لي الأفخاذ كاملة. يلا. See Midu, type the whole sentence with recklessness just to talk about it. يلا, I'm waiting. It can stand alone. It is a phrase. Sinafia, are you responding to Midu or to this? I think it was more to this. Anyway, we are waiting for Midu because he says recklessness here is not a full phrase. علاش not a full phrase؟ إلى عندي his recklessness. His recklessness, yes, it's a full phrase. Okay, Safi, I think you have answered that. Okay, so now we are in standalone sentences. Okay. هنا in standalone means those brief answers that we give to questions. What will you do tomorrow? Wash the dishes. It means tomorrow I will wash the dishes. شوفوا كيفاش جاوبت هنايا. What will you do tomorrow? I have answered in the form of a phrase. What? Wash the dishes. Watch TV. What will you do tomorrow? Travel to the north. Okay. Who did you meet tomorrow? The student of physics. Oh, who did you meet tomorrow? Sorry. Who will you meet? Who are you meeting tomorrow? The student of physics. So you have to have the whole, yes, the whole phrase. In standalone, in these short answers, the answers have to be direct, they have to be brief, but they have to be phrases, not part of phrases. Where did you play basketball? You can say in the yard. هنايا كما كتلاحظوا جاوبت باش prepositional phrase. اللي امبورطون هنايا على حسب السؤال الجواب خصو يكون في لا فورم ديال phrase, not half a phrase, not just the head الى اخره. Thank you. And of course you have coordination, a famous, that's the last one. We call it coordination. That's a very famous example. That's a very famous, test for constituency. Coordination simply means that sometimes we humans, we coordinate by means of and or you see, you have some coordinators, the fun boys thing. But what is interesting here is that when you have a coordinator, you need to have some sort of parallelism, some sort of balance between the elements. So if this is a coordinator, if you have a noun phrase before, you have to have a noun phrase after. You cannot say, for example, the student of physics and the professor of natural history. You can say this, the student of physics, and the end خصني موراها تجي noun phrase. حيت the student of physics اللي قبل هي it's a noun phrase. If you have a verb phrase before and then you have and, you have to have a verb phrase after. If you have a prepositional phrase before and then you have and, then you have to have a prepositional phrase after. Okay. Out of the house and into the street. Out of the house and into the street. You cannot say out of the house and the street. It's not a good combination. They are not coordinated in the right way. The man and the cat. The man and the cat. You cannot say the man and cat. See, خصني ندير لي هذا حتى هي باش يكونوا phrase. Anyway, when we coordinate, we coordinate similar phrases. We cannot coordinate a phrase with just a noun later on. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think I have exhausted my list, and let me tell you that you are not obliged, especially if the question is, now I'm not discouraging you from knowing all of them. You have to know all of them. You never know. The professor can specify specific types of arguments and will ask you to develop them. But if the question is, provide enough arguments, provide evidence, okay, which one? See, Midu. كيفاش reverse pseudo-cleft? I'm so sorry. Yeah, would you clarify? Papillon, la papillon blanche. Papillon, ça, c'est pas papillon. Likely a female, but anyway, let me know what your precise question is, please. So let me know what the question is. Okay. Yeah, tell me about this, please, so that I can clarify it. Anyway, waiting for the question to be asked. Let me repeat the idea that if the question is, if the question, if the question is, provide enough evidence for, will provide evidence for the existence of phrase level categories, you will not list all of these things. Be selective. But of course, if the professor says, in what way does, for example, coordination and substitution provide arguments, here you are obliged to focus on these two arguments. Coordination thing, that's like this what me do, that's the easiest argument actually. So let me say something here. You have and ولا or إلى آخره. So let's talk about and or. When you have and or other, peut-être other coordinators as well, so you have to have same element here. So you have to have a phrase here. If you have a phrase here, you should have a phrase here. You cannot have a phrase here and a noun here. You cannot say, for example, you cannot say the tables. إلا كتبت أنا the tables ودرت لها and ودرت حداها and, واش ممكن نكتب أنا غير chairs؟ Ça c'est faux. You understand? Coordination says that either coordinate a phrase with a phrase or a word with a word. إلا قلت أنا هنايا table ما يمكنش tables and chairs. The table and chairs is unlikely to be, so we should say the table and the chairs, especially when you talk about the furniture. The men and the women. Okay, fine. What the sentence reveal? He is the student of physics and of linguistics. He is the student of physics and yes, very good. Let's talk about that. Let me talk about that. He is the student of physics and of linguistics. He is a student of physics and of linguistics. نشوفوا نطبقوا هذه الكوردينيشن. Okay? Yes. Okay. Of physics and هنايا and ياك. And is a coordinator. باش تكون هذه الجملة صحيحة خاص تكون عندي إلا عندي phrase قبل خاص تكون عندي phrase after. Donc نشوفوا of physics is a phrase. Of linguistics is a phrase. هذا شي طالب كيدير الفيزيك وكيدير linguistics. He is a student of physics and of linguistics. ولكن ما خصناش نخلطوا هذه سي ميدو and الإخوان والأخوات اللي معنا هنايا الأصدقاء ديالنا اللي يمكن منهم طلبة ديالي. هاد اللي خايبة هي تقول the student كتفهموا هاد الشيء of physics of linguistics. هذه ungrammatical. علاش؟ Because we have two complements here of physics of linguistics. Two complements ما يمكنش. مي هنايا لا. هنايا عندي and ممكن. Donc the point that I am making here is that when you have and when you have coordination, okay, you have a phrase here, you have and you have another phrase here. So coordination here is a proof that we have phrase level categories. For the other, because I remember there was a question before about complements and adjuncts. I would like the gentleman to retype his, you see, his question before we call it a day. We will have occasion to come for more advanced questions. There will come a time. That's what I tell my students. فاجئوني اليوم كيسولوني على دي شوز اللي غادي نديرهم ربما في السيمانه الثالثه ولا الرابعه من هنا لفوق. take it easy. Don't ask questions that. علاش? Because if I start talking about that, you will be confused. خلينا نمشيو step by step إن شاء الله. You will end up, mastering the whole thing, ladies and gentlemen. Deja reflections. Hi, Socrates. I have a question concerning iteration. Can we iterate the yes, of course. If by iteration you mean the recursion, yes, of course. The XPs are rules in general. Whatever phrases, rules, they are recursive by nature. And by the way, we call it generative grammar because the number of rules, number of categories are so limited, but we use them in different combinations to produce an infinite number of sentences. Of course, we will come to things like these later on in our next video. If you are interested, we will talk about complements and adjuncts very soon, maybe tomorrow, after tomorrow. I am ready. The only condition is to like. And by the way, this is a request, a polite request. It's not obligatory. That after this live is over, please come and type a comment and hit a like again, if it does not show. And so that this live will reach more people. Nohela says something again. And okay, pseudo-clefting inversion example, not the destination, but the journey is what truly matters. Now, that's a bit far-fetched, but it's a good example anyway of clefting. But the clefting we were talking about involve straightforward examples to illustrate that what we need to have, are not half phrases, but that's the main point, but are phrases. لا 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 ماشي بار ليفل لا علاش شكون ديجا ريفلكشنز لا الله يخليك لا سوري دابا انت استعملتي كلمه reiterate دابا كتهضري على reduplicate لا هذا حنا كنهضروا على جوج حوايج مختلفين هادشي غنهضر عليه في next live peut-être demain الا بغيتو انا موجود I need a trigger, I need a prompt. Okay. لا if you are talking about deja let me tell you, if you are talking about a situation where you have many adjuncts ولا you have at least one adjunct in a phrase, هنا bien sûr الاكس بار هو اللي كيدوبلا. We make a copy of it. If you have two adjuncts, you make two copies. If you have three adjuncts, you make three copies of X bar, of course. Deja reflections. Okay, I hope you got it. I need your feedback, please. See Mustafa Morshid, I have invited all my linguistic students to join this live. They will benefit a lot. Barakallahu fik, Si Mustafa, he says, thank you. Thank you so much. Si Mustafa was helping these lives spread to more people when he was a doctoral student, and then now he is doing it with his students when he is in his capacity as a professor. Thank you so much, Si Mustafa. Barakallahu fik. I don't know if I have other colleagues here, and I would like to. Yeah, one of my best friends who is in Marrakesh told me that he shared this with his students. That's really interesting. I'm really grateful to those colleagues. Let me tell you that one colleague at one of the universities, told his students loud and clear that if you share the links of Mr. Amros in your groups, هو ما شغلوش اصلا صار الجروب ديال الطلبه وقال لي لا, you should not share the links of. And I was really surprised to hear that people can reach this level of I really don't know why. Why? What am I doing here? Am I gaining any money? If I want to gain money from these lives need to be watched by 500,000 or more, or 1 million to get money for that. You see, انا راه ما كيوصلش ل 1000 فين توصل ما كيوصلش قليل, never for long videos. You see, so it's but someone told me, but I really I am sure of the specific person who did that at 98%. but I decided to overlook the matter just like that. And, you know, yeah, that's true. That's true, Nawal. Everyone is free to do whatever they want, but, you know, thank you, Midu. Thank you. Barakallahu fik. But let me tell you, there are a lot of colleagues across the country, alhamdulillah, including some friends from other neighboring countries. You know, they are followers. You see, I have followers from a number of African countries as well. You know, very good messages, very nice ones. Um, you see, and colleagues also at the, you know, in different at different universities in the country. And one of the reasons why I am here is thanks to their encouragements. They insist on the fact that their students have to attend. They share the link. They do everything. But, you know, we cannot judge on the basis of a single individual. He or she may have he may have his own reasons for that. Okay. So anyway, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Even if you want to gain from what you do, you are free. Thank you so much. Thank you. Trust no one ever. No, Hayla, it's not a question of knowing you, Professor, but your dedication and hard work that makes people like Barakallahu fik, Nuhaila, for saying that. Thank you. Allah yakhtikum. Okay, the point of pseudo-clefting, is it used to prove what? IKM 9170, okay? We use pseudo-clefting to prove that phrases exist. For example, when I say to you, what I wanted to do, okay, what I wanted to do was, after was, can you say just the verb? No. After was, what I want to do was wash the dishes. You cannot say what I wanted to do was wash and stop. Wash what? Finish, my friend. Okay. So you have to have after what in pseudo-clefting, you have to have, okay, the whole phrase, not just part of it. That's the evidence. IKM 9170. Marhaba si Hassan, thank you Hajar, Savers, Mido, thank you, I'm a supervisor and a big fan of you. Oh, look at Mido Muftish, huh? He's not a student, so thank you so much, Mido, thank you for, you know, joining us here. I will not miss one of the world. Always a pleasure to be here. Barakallahu fik. Thank you. Look at these lovely comments coming from people whose identity is hidden. I like that so much. Thank you. Thank you. Could you please remind me of which argument you have mentioned after pseudo-clefting? After pseudo-clefting, we mentioned what we call standalone questions or standalone test. The standalone test. C'est quoi standalone test? It's when you ask a question and you have a brief answer. That brief answer has to take the form of a phrase. For example, who did you meet yesterday? A student of physics. You cannot say a student of. Okay, very nice. Okay, if he consumes the one who cares, let them do what they want. Okay, as long as there is no harm. Barakallahu fik, Mustafa. It was also a pleasure. And كان أدور مع البروفيسور مرشد اللي دار إنتاج ما شاء الله عليه. I could hardly find what to say about it, honestly, except of course the deserved good comments that I made. It's really nice. I don't know what came of it. See, Mustafa, did you publish it in the form of a book or articles, or you are thinking about it? I need to know. So I will talk on the phone and see, get more. Thank you, Midu. Thank you, everyone. What are functional heads in hierarchical order, please? Functional heads. هادشي غادي نشوفوا later. These are reflections, but let me tell you that functional heads are tense. ولكن انا الطلبه ديالي دابا اللي المستوى ديالهم يلا عاد بدينا السينتاكس وهذا الشيء واخا ما تفهموش هذا الانسر هذه. But let me answer you. Functional heads are you have many, by the way. The more advanced syntax is, the more functional heads that emerge. So we start from what we call the infl, and especially after Pollock 92, you have the split infl hypothesis. So you have tense, you have a tense phrase or tense zero, agreement zero, aspect zero. You can have negator, negation zero. You can also have above the CP, you can have the topic phrase. You can have what's that? The fourth phrase. You have, so these are details. In order, there is no universal order because languages differ in whether they rank, for example, tense above aspect, aspect above tense, etc. So we will talk about the details probably when we reach that level. But I've just answered you this briefly in order to satisfy your intellectual curiosity. The student came back and on the tram, it's unlikely to say this. Came by and on the tram, it's unlikely, it's unusual, this one here. But let me see what our friends will say about the grammaticality of this sentence. It's unlikely to be grammatical. Barakallahu fik, papillon blanche. La lechtik, thank you. And my dear friends, this brings our live to a close. I don't know if the session has been satisfactory enough. If it is, show that please after the live ends, come back and type a comment or hit a like button. Thank you so much indeed. And I will announce another live session very soon, inshallah. Thank you so much. Thank you, Nawal. Thank you, everyone, my dear friends. See you later.